Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the Celtic YouTube and channel and podcast that celebrates the fact that Celtic is all over this big wide world. From Bells Hill to the Bungle Bungles, from Mount Vernon to Mount Fuji, wherever you are in this Celtic, you're part of a Celtic world. So sorry, that was my slightly clumsy intro. Obviously, I'm feeling for Gav, who's over in KL, and will no doubt be critiquing the performance as he has done about last night's game. Also, but who have we got before we get into it? I'm sure happy faces all round. Firstly, probably happier to have some camaraderie around him tonight. Steve, over on the other side of Australia. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, Paul. Yeah, it's nice to have other voices to listen to except my own. It's a very sobering experience staring at your own face talking. And trying to work out who cares.
You did a great job, mate. A fair play. It was I felt for you. But yeah, you did a good job in the circumstances. We're great to have you on tonight. A special guest. We weren't originally lined up, but I thought it'd be a good idea to get you on. Brian and Ireland, I haven't seen you for a while. So how are you doing? You must be
not too bad, sir. Not too bad. As I say, I took the wrong month to stay off the beer, you know. But what a game! What a game! Just smiling ear to ear. Just looking at Frank Brennan's, even miserable old Brian smiling. Fair play to you. No, absolutely just unbelievable. Just the happiest man in the world at the minute. Brilliant.
Good man. So Steve's flicking through some comments for us. Hello, everybody's in the chat. We'll get to that in a bit. Ian's a wee bit under the weather. Obviously not the result, but a bit of illness, but he's soldiering through. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not drink inflicted as people might think. It's more the wee one's gone back to school. So she accused me of giving her a cold. And I said, well, I work at home, so it's me and mum. I said, you're the one that's in with 700 other kids. So I'm going to speculate that the origin of the cold has come from you.
Good man. Yeah, you've got to put these kids in their place early doors. Well, it's good to have you along. Good to have you all along. Obviously, we're all in fine fettle. No surprises what we'll cover today, but I guess in the interests of organisation, we'll put it up. So obviously, we're going to review and chat about the game against Slovan Bratislava last night or this morning. If you're me or Steve, we're just chatting off air saying that I doubt Steve's had any sleep either. But yeah, 3 a.m. kickoff for me, 5 a.m. kickoff for Steve. Up and at it, done a day's work and on here and still no kip. So that'll come in due course. But yeah, we'll do that. That'll take us most of our time. Where next? We will sort of speculate a little bit and maybe get a little bit giddy and excited about what could happen in the rest of this campaign. And maybe we'll have some temper down of some realism, but without Gav, maybe not. And then we'll touch a wee bit of a preview on the Falkirk game. We're probably not going to spend too much time on that. Got socials up there, but a bit of technical issues and my having to do a day job as well as this. We're probably not going to get to socials today, but I'm sure you've all been all over Twitter and other social medias and enjoying the abundant content from the Celtic support. So continue to do that. And Ian's he produces it and shares it excitedly. So you'll get plenty there if you're following Ian. So let's just get into chatting about the game. Obviously a fantastic result. Yeah, we'll talk about the quality of opposition as we go. But I think at this level, any result's a good result. And in 13 attempts, that's the first time we've won our opening game of a Champions League campaign. So it's been a long time coming. We're all of a vintage where we can remember 20 odd years ago when Celtic Park was a fortress and we were beating all comers. Between that and Oasis reuniting, maybe we're in a time machine, I don't know, but it's certainly enough to get some hopes up based on last night's performance. We'll start with the lineup. Come to you first, Steve. What were your thoughts when the team lines came out? Was there any surprises for you, or did you think that's pretty much how we would go?
Yeah, I think the only question I had to be answered was it going to be either Hatate or Bernardo who dropped out of midfield to make way for Engels. And I think there was a little bit of debate about that pre-match with a lot of people thinking Hatate's not been on the best run of form recently. And certainly last weekend he gave a ball away quite a few times. So we were talking on Monday about how he might plump for Bernardo. given the fact that he had missed out in the Hearts game. But he's obviously showed confidence in Hatate and put him in there. Feel a bit for Bernardo because he hasn't done anything wrong this year. He's been really good in his own right. But, you know, he went for Hatate, and I think the faith he showed in Hatate was paid back. So I think he did an excellent game and was fantastic and amongst a really highly functioning midfield. But that was the only decision. The rest of the team picked itself. I don't really think any of the sort of newbies were ever going to start, not having started a game up to then, and I think everything else was as expected.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good pickup on Bernardo. I was one of the people that suggested he might get the nod. He played in every Champions League game last term. He's obviously probably that little bit more disciplined and sort of just a bit more structured than Hatate can be. He's probably a bit more of a free runner and try things that other players won't. So that was my thinking originally, but I guess in hindsight, these are the games, the winnable games at home where you're going to take more risk. I think we might see Bernardo in games where we're kind of hanging on in there. And, Dortmund, for example, we might see Bernardo in for Hatate in that game. But in hindsight, I think he went absolutely with the right side and obviously was vindicated with the performance of the whole team, really, but obviously Hatate in particular. Ian, anything to add on the team lineup?
No, I agree. I would be surprised if we didn't see Bernardo in somewhere like in Dortmund to kind of retain possession of the ball. But apart from that, happy with the lineup. I think we're also happy with the preparation and stuff. When it came out, you were kind of really calm, no mad decisions. Everyone looks good, just excited. So yeah, it was game on. I think everyone was like buzzing. The only question was that Bernardo one, but we understood why Hatate was in there, so it was just roll on the kickoff.
Yeah, I just grabbing. I unfortunately can't put these up, but I picked up some of the actual official UEFA stats at halftime. Hatate was 90% passing accuracy in the first half. And one of the things that does get leveled him is he gives the ball away a bit. So it's 27 passes, 90% accuracy. So yeah, I think really good. In fact, the whole team had a great half, and we probably were all feeling a wee bit disappointed at halftime, but obviously things definitely got better. Brian, what were your thoughts as we sort of came to the start of the game and obviously watching the scenes and the that Champions League music playing again and just how loud the crowd was?
Again, backing up what the boys are saying, I was actually very calm. It was the first time in a long time, and I think it was yourself, Steve, said about the Glasgow derby. It's just like another game now, and I felt this is it was very composed, and Engels is. I mean, if we can keep him for this season, I mean, he looks like a young Michael Ballack. He looks fantastic. He had the confidence and the nous. But in terms of the game, in terms of the atmosphere, it just goes without saying it is a special place. The light show was on, the disco lights were on. It's where we belong. And I think I mentioned back on the drink along, the cup final when Ida scored. If you can cast your mind back, I think we'll do something in Europe, and I do think this. It's all about chances. It's all. I mean, we're not going to win it, but we're going to I reckon we'll bloody a couple of noses of some big teams, and it's all. I mean, the goal difference. Like we're 4+4 goal difference. That could be crucial, and it's best Celtic performance I've seen in a long time. Yeah,
I think on current form, if we did go and try and win it, we'd probably be in the final with Bayern Munich, and it's to be a home tie, so it would be a wee bit unfair if that was the case. But we dare to dream, dare to dream. Right, we'll get on with the actual game and stop the nonsense. I agree with you. I thought there was a confidence about the team. The crowd were obviously bang up for it, as you would expect. And I think we started well. We were intense, and just looked like we were confident, and we dominated the ball pretty much, for the whole game. They had flickers, and when they did get on the ball, they tended to move it pretty quickly to varying degrees of success. But there was always a potential danger there. But we saw, I thought we saw really early on a confidence in the team to play out from the back regardless. And really the first point I note I've got down is kind of 3-4 minutes in. There's a bit of tight play at the back between Kasper Schmeichel and I think CCV's involved, Scales as well. And then Schmeichel releases McGregor, who's dropped right into the 18-yard box, and he turns and there's no one near him and he drives. And from there, we move it quite quickly. We get AJ. I think McGregor moves it into AJ. AJ sort of inverts, which was a feature of the game the whole night. Both fullbacks coming inside and flooding that midfield position. And then he played a great ball over the top and in behind. And Miera was on it in a flash. And it sat up really nice for him. And he just went with his obviously slightly weaker foot, the left, and he kind of flashed it over the bar. But it was a really early sign, back to front, really quick and slick. And I'd say it was a sort of sign of what was to come. And it was one of those you're going, oh, we're up and at it. But you know, obviously to get a goal at that point would have been fantastic. What were your thoughts early doors game?
I mean, I think, last season, not towards the end, but towards the beginning and middle, I think we all asked what was Rodgers' style of play. And I think really the beginning of this season, we've really started to see it. A lot of people have kind of asked, has he actually just gone back to what Ange was doing? Has he tried to copy some things? I mean, I don't know if that's true or if it's... I didn't watch much of Rodgers at Leicester, so I don't know how that Leicester team played. Or he's obviously grown as a coach because you could see different things like you're talking about, especially towards the end of the second half. You really saw Taylor and AJ going in to almost like a front line to try and create overloads on both sides and things. So we're starting to see a really good style of play. We start nice and quick every single game. That's what we try and do. And I think that really helps us, especially at home, because it gets the energy and the crowd up. And I think it kind of, Bratislava will have talked about that, like Celtic's going to come quickly, the crowd's going to be up front and stuff like that. But it's one thing talking about it, and you could see the other thing was them being in it. I mean, they were chasing shadows for that first 10, 15 minutes. The little potato-looking guy that used to play for the old Rangers was on the sidelines just trying to kick everyone. I mean, he'd probably still get a game for Rangers, but he was terrible. I expected a wee bit more. And I think we just made them look like the team that everyone said they were, if that makes sense. But I think, as we're talking about, over the last 20 years, how many times have we been like, we should win this comfortably, we're much better than this team, we've got a bigger budget and stuff, and it never panned out. I mean, we've had a lot of it's never panned out. This one was it's when expectation met reality, and that's how it felt.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think they were paying $8.50 down here, so that's a pretty hefty betting odds down here for a Bratislava win. And we were joking in the group chat that was reasonably good. There was maybe some value in that, but obviously the bookies are rarely wrong, and they, the PTSD from us over the last 10, 15 years is probably what made us doubt that. But yeah, they're ranked 36th in the tournament. They're expected to finish last. They've got some horror games coming up. I think they've got Milan, they've got Bayern Munich, a couple of other strong teams still to play, and they looked well off it. Yeah, they're not a big side. They did really well to get there. I think they got through 4 ties. I don't think they conceded a goal on the road in any of those ties either, which is pretty impressive when you look at how they shipped as many as they did yesterday. But I just think we just stepped it up to a level and they couldn't really live with us. But I did comment that for a bit of the first half, it did look like they were not dissimilar to a kind of top end Scottish Premier League team. Like they were happy to sit in their 2 banks of 4. The only difference was they were technically more, technically better, more gifted, and a bit quicker on the counter, and looked a bit more dangerous. But we just snuffed out all the danger. And really, so we had a bit going on in that first 15 minutes. They had the one break, but Greg Taylor and Scales did a really good job to snuff that out. And it was a corner, but we never really looked in danger from that. Steve, do you want to talk about, just generally that the sort of defensive performance in those early stages?
Yeah, I thought they defended really well the whole game, and I think we really need to have a conversation about Liam Scales.
Absolutely.
And I know he's a bit kind of Marmite to a lot of Celtic fans, but he's getting better every game, to be honest. And I questioned him as much as anyone else whether he was ever going to be able to make the step up to be a proper Celtic centre half. But he's proven us all wrong. And I think we all underestimated his abilities and also the abilities of Brendan Rodgers to improve players. And that was really not great of us, because we don't need to go too far back to see guys like Stuart Armstrong, Ryan Christie, guys who came to the club as kind of average, slightly better than average players, and Rodgers turned them into international footballers, and they both went away to have careers in the English Premier League. So it looks as if he's doing something really similar with Liam Scales. And you just can't question his performances. He's actually, out of him and Cameron Carter-Vickers, I think he's the better of the two at the moment. His form's better. And he didn't put a foot wrong last night at all. He was assured. He was strong in the tackle. He was good in the air. And he got his goal, which he absolutely deserved. So defensively, we were really good. I think one of the key things about our performance, and it's been the same in every game this season, was how high we like to win the ball back, and the amount of times we won the ball back off them in their third of the park, and it makes defending a lot easier when you've got that energy in your press so high up the park. And we've done it a number of times this morning or last night, and we did the same against Rangers, and we got a goal. Cameron McGregor's third goal came off winning the ball up and high up the park. So that to me has been a feature of our play so far this season, and we done it really well last night as well.
Yeah, spot on. Brian, I'll hand over to you on Liam Scales, fellow countryman.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about Liam Scales at the minute?
Again, I was reading somewhere that it's the first Irish player to score in the Champions League in 13 years. So that speaks for first Irish international, I think, to score in the Champions League for 13. Scales is just so grounded. He plays the game like he's going to get dropped the following week. He plays like the shirt isn't his, if you know what I mean. He wants the jersey. He will hold on to it. He will do anything to keep the jersey. It's just so refreshing to have somebody like that. And again, being Irish and being homegrown and coming from Shamrock Rovers, which is, what do we pay for him, $500,000 or something like that, or 100,000?
Yeah, that's somewhere in between, I think.
It's just fantastic. I'm running out of superlatives for him, and he could go all the way. I mean, he could go to the EPL if he's under the right management. It's just brilliant. Why would you go out and waste so much money, 20 million on a centre back? How much would you have to pay to get a boy like Scales with a left peg? How much, if we were to go out to the market now and get somebody who can contribute, who can take set pieces, who can defend, who can score, how much would you pay for that?
Well, we just paid 6 million to replace him, and he can't get in the team. And look, I've been as big a critic of Scales as anyone. Well, maybe not as anyone on social media, but certainly in terms of a considered opinion where, he's given his all. He's done his best, but for chunks of last season, I was quite vocal that he wasn't up to it, and I stand by that. His performance level has lifted remarkably between the end of last season and this season. You only have to think back to the Scottish Cup semi-final. They had those last two goals that Aberdeen scored were thrown over the top of him. He was all at sea. He got beat into the headers. And if you look at then to now, it's like somebody swapped him out for a different player. And I only put it down to the competition for a place. And to your point, Brian, yeah, he does look like he wants to hang on to that jersey. He wasn't under threat for a jersey last year. And that leads to complacency. Yeah. It leads to a fall off in performance, however much you might not mean it. But I think he's playing out of his skin at the minute, and there is a quality level of lift in his game. He doesn't look as shaky. His decision making's better. His timing of when to go, when to stay, when he's defending players is better. He's always been good in the air, and his passing's got better as well. Ian, what do you think? I saw you have a little
Yeah, I think we also have to give credit to Brendan Rodgers, right? Because I think what you said there about Scales could have been said about majority of the team around about Christmas, which is what, like 9 months ago. 9 months ago, we could have said that about everyone. I think everyone looks more organised. Everyone looks like they know their role a bit more. I've also picked up on, and I don't know if anyone else has, when Rodgers has been talking about pre-season, he's been talking about everyone agreeing to the press. So the press that Steve's talking about, he's been talking about how everyone has agreed that is what they're going to do and the commitment. So I think what Rodgers has actually got them all to do is part of that buying into his system. And I think now we're really starting to see that the fruits of those labour. Because like you're saying, Scales has always kind of had the skill set. The problem is sometimes being in decision making, in terms of being out of position or trying to play balls that you shouldn't. Those errors have started to go, and I think that's probably as part of buying into the system, understanding it more, and then it's had that knock-on effect that he looks more assured. And look, the guy's had 2 Champions League man of the matches in a row, because he had the Feyenoord one and then he had the one last night. So obviously he's doing something right, because those are 2 high, it's opposition. I would argue Feyenoord is definitely better than anything he faces domestically, and I would say that Bratislava are just like Rangers without the long ball. So he's done well.
Yeah, that's a good. Let's just segue straight into his goal. So in the run up to that, Rio wins a free kick, just clips it down the side, and we get a handball free kick. Engels has a crack, but hits the wall, and it spins up and it flies towards the corner flag. And our old friend Vladimir Weiss is there to collect it. He gets absolutely bullied by Maeda, as Maeda did to most people all game. And under pressure, he concedes a pretty soft corner. And from there, who wants to pick it up? Steve, do you want to tell us what happened from the corner?
Well, the first thing you talk about with the corner is the fantastic delivery from Engels. We've been crying out for a corner taker like that for years. Sort of Matt O'Reilly kind of flirted with being a decent corner taker, but that was just an absolutely perfect delivery. It was just begging for someone to put a head on it. And Scales obliged. He made a really good run across the front of the centre half. Didn't really have to jump that high. It was just such a good delivery into such a dangerous area, and he wasn't picked up properly, and he got a good head on the ball, and the pace on the cross just made it was too strong for the keeper to save, even though he got a good 2 hands on it, but he just couldn't keep it out. So really good, and Scales is really good at those near post runs. He's done it a number of times both this season and last, and he's been unlucky a few times not to get more goals, and he certainly looks like our biggest threat from set pieces in the box. I don't think Cameron Carter-Vickers carries much of a threat at these set pieces, and Liam Scales is the main man now. So with Engels whipping balls like that into the box, you've always got a chance for. But Arnie Engels, what a player he looks.
The thing is, Steve, in the post-match, Scales actually mentioned that was Engels. Engels was actually putting it into a specific place. He was being a bit self-deprecating, but he said all I had to do was arrive in that space and basically head it in. And I think what we've kind of seen from Engels is, apart from the fact that boy, I'm telling you now, he's got a couple of 30-yarders in the locker. The clean hits of those balls and the pace he was putting in some of those shots was, I think we're going to enjoy some long ranges. But I think the important thing is the reason he's on the corners is obviously he's putting it into a very specific area they've targeted. And like Scales is saying, if we can have someone who consistently puts it in that little area that we need, and him and CCV know the areas to run, we could see that we actually score a bit more from corners, which is something we always cry out about, because I think we went like 3 years without scoring with one. So, all good.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a red letter day when you score from corners, you score penalties. I've seen a little bit prior to this game. I saw a little bit of criticism that Engels at 6'2" should be in the box and not taking corners. But to the point we've all just made, the quality of that delivery is above anything else we've got in that squad. So it absolutely is the right thing for him to be on those. And I agree with you. He had a couple of clean hits. He was just a bit unlucky. They were too straight, and the keeper got behind both of them. One first half, one second half. I think that must be Gav in the comments saying Engels already looks like our best player, and it's hard to disagree with that. The kid's just turned 21. He's had 2 starts, and he looks like the coolest man in a cauldron. Going, I enjoyed his. You probably saw his post-match interview. I think it was on BBC Scotland, where the interviewer asked him, it's a lot of big pressure, 60,000 fans, Champions League. You just looked so cool, and he went, and it's probably partly translation, but he went, I'm always cool, and it's just he just oozes that confidence.
Did you see him in
it's not arrogance, it's definitely confidence.
Champions League? The music was coming on, and he just came to Engels, and he was just like, "Yeah, I belong here." Wasn't phased. Sorry, Paul.
And and I think the other stat I read on this is goal and assist, first Celtic player to do that since Henrik Larsson. So he's in pretty exalted company there. And I think we've said this about a lot of players over the last few years, but he's one we should enjoy for every minute he's in a hoop shirt, because he is destined for unfortunately richer leagues again. But it looks like even at 11 million in a record signing, it looks like an absolute steal and a great bit of business. So it's funny how stressed
I just love the way.
So it's funny how stressed we were in the last couple of weeks of the window, and now we're looking pretty happy.
Yeah. I just love the way he moves around the park. It's almost effortless. He just seems to glide. You don't really seem to see him busting a gut to get places. He just turns up there, and just receives the ball, turns, and he's such a graceful footballer to watch, and just an absolute Rolls Royce. And just talking about shooting as well, for a side, he doesn't seem to have much pullback on his leg either. He just seems to. Almost, again, it looks effortless. He generates this power from absolutely nowhere. And I agree with you, Ian. I think there's a few goalkeepers going to be picking out a few worldies from him this season, especially if he gets space round the box. Just that, and it's almost as if, when you pay that extra bit of money, you get an extra bit of quality in your player. This is something we've been screaming for
well done, Peter Law. Then, Steve, is that it? Well done, Peter Law.
Well done, Peter. Yeah, we got there in the end. I think it was the guy calling him an arsehole outside St Mirren Park. I think we should be all sending that guy a great big thank you, because he seemed to have unlocked the biscuit tin by saying that.
Maybe coincidental, but I think the last thing on Engels, and he had an absolutely super performance. And last thing for now, at least, he does the hard work as well. He does the grafting. The amount of times he got back and broke up play, and won the ball and pushed it around and get things restarted, alongside Callum McGregor, who did that all night long and was absolutely another faultless performance from the skipper. So yeah, like we've taken a lot of time up with this, so I'm going to rattle on. The first half. The rest of the first half, we had some really good opportunities. We touched on a few of them. There was one literally a minute after we scored. Kuhn goes on a great run and puts Kyogo in. The chest control's brilliant. He's done the hard work, really. He's got himself in. He's one-on-one with the keeper. And he just, heard people say it's a good save. It's a decent save. The keeper makes himself big, but Kyogo hits it a bit too straight. If he gets any kind of lift and slide towards the corner, it's in. He really should bury that one, I think. And then there's another good chance on his left foot. And again, he just snatches it and gets it over the bar. And I've had a lot of criticism about Kyogo for this kind of stuff, but he's kind of always done this. He's always missed a few chances, but he's always getting himself into the right position, so he always gets more. Look, I guess against even better opposition, well, much better opposition with fewer chances, that could be the difference between points and no points. But where do we stand on this? Brian, what do you think?
I was first half. I was wanting them to be hooked, and I was like, we had 3 or 4 really, he had 3 or 4 really good chances to score, and I'm thinking to myself, right, we should be really 6-0 up here at half time, but we're 1-0. No, but seriously, might had a couple, and on another day, and then he obviously proved me wrong a minute in the second half, and that's what you get with Kyogo. He's going to score goals. He's going to get into space. But that's why we have him. It's like Maeda. If he was able to add that the scoring to his game, he would be playing at Real Madrid. But
absolutely,
or Man City.
Man City, yeah. But I thought he was a bit. I mean, they were physical. I mean, they kicked lumps out of angles in the first half, and they were quite physical. 3 cards. I think we got 3 yellow cards in the first half. But I was a bit sort of. I would have give Kyogo personally maybe another 10 minutes, and then it would have brought Ida on. But obviously, the young Japanese forward proved me wrong, as he does time and time again.
He did. And then so we missed a few chances. We went in 1-0. I think we all felt, the ghost of Christmas past might be coming back. We'd passed up chances. They hadn't looked great, but the one that we haven't touched on, Vice had a really good chance on their maybe their second break. And I've got no idea why he doesn't hit first time. He doesn't make the right decision.
Classic Rangers player, just shite.
Just shite, yeah. And we get back and we block him out and we move on again. But yeah, that was really what they were resorting to the counters. But yeah, I remember saying, like, it was a great half. We should have been further ahead. Like, I think Kyogo, at least one of the two should be tucked away. And there's enough.
Should Vice have been sent off as well, because he did kick a player? Because I don't know. I couldn't hear because it was noisy in the CSC. But it looked like he aimed a kick, and that seems like it should have been a red.
He absolutely booted him. And I've no idea. I don't know. I can't keep up with the rules anymore. Like, it used to be, if you kicked somebody off the ball, it was a straight red. For whatever reason, the ref gave a yellow quickly. VAR doesn't overturn it or tell him to have any further look, and he gets off of one. There was a couple of tackles that were marginal. The one that went straight through the back. Was it Engels? Oh, was it Engels who went through the back of, and then AJ went through the back of. AJ went through the back of. Or maybe it was Kuhn. I think Wimmer went through the back of Kuhn, and then AJ went through the back of Vice. They both got booked. They probably were both bookings, but the first one was pretty reckless. Like, it's probably only because the studs aren't up that he gets away with just a booking. But you're right, they were pretty physical. I thought we stood up really well. Like, Kuhn never had. He ran at his men all day long. It's his run that makes the goal for Kyogo. Like, literally, at that point, to get Kyogo a goal, we kind of needed to make it unmissable. And I don't know if he poked it over the line with his knob or his hip or his gut, but it went in. But again, he's in the right position, and it's a great run and it's a great cross. And then at that point, I don't know what you felt, but like 2 minutes in, we had the nerves at halftime that, how this could go one of two ways. They could be reinvigorated. I think that just took all the pressure out of the game, and it was a joy to watch from then on, really, in the second half. Ian? Yeah,
I mean, to be honest with you, I wasn't nervous at halftime because, to be honest with you, I thought Rodgers was going to tweak this. Like you said, it was 1-0 going on 3 or 4-0, and I had noticed, like I said, that the Taylor and Johnson had started going up and occupying those spaces, and I think that's what was clogging it up. They were going too all in that and not leaving space for everyone. So that seemed to get sorted out pretty quickly, and almost immediately Kuhn's down there, great in for Kyogo, and then there was also space for AJ running in behind, which is how we got the penalty, because there was the illusion that there was more space in the second half, even though they were sitting deep. So I'm not a tactical expert, but I'm assuming that Rodgers had told them to do some stuff slightly differently. That opened up the space, and we seemed to be cutting them open. And then AJ's penalty is just one of those ones where, if it was on the opposite side, you'd be like, why is someone making that challenge? Because you don't need to do it, because it's daft. And that's what it was. 100% penalty, daft challenge, always going to be. And then you were wondering, like, is Engels going to do the same thing? Is he going to be cool and just roll it in, or is he going to smack it in? And obviously the keeper hadn't watched the previous game. So well done for him for not preparing, because Engels just ran up and put it in the same way. But you don't know. We'll wait for the unique angle, but you never know that Engels might be giving him the eyes again, so.
He's definitely got the stutter in the run-up. But yeah, one of Rodgers did a few, as it happens, obviously, did quite a few post-match interviews, different broadcasters and stuff. One of the ones I saw, and I think I commented on one of your posts last night or this morning, was he said at halftime we just spoke to him a little bit about a few little positional things, which was leading to more forward passes and less sideways and backwards. So, that does talk to, obviously, the point you're making there, Ian. Brian, going back to your points about Kyogo, like literally from the second half onwards, he's involved in the next 3 goals. He gets on the end of the second. He's on the ball and has a shot at goal that's saved for the penalty. As arguably at that point, he should maybe square it to Kuhn, who's right in the middle of the box and probably got a clearer shot, but he's just scored. He's got his confidence up. He's entitled to go for that as a main striker. And yeah, he creates the mayhem that causes the penalty, and it's daft. And as Ian says, it's a great finish by Engels. And I think we've now potentially got our new best player, our set piece taker, and a penalty taker, which we've struggled to find a penalty taker consistently for years. And it now looks we've got one in the bag. But then Kyogo's at the heart and the start of the 4th goal, which I think is the pick of the bunch. Probably. Steve, do you agree that's the pick of the bunch? And what did you make of that goal?
Yeah, I think it was. It was a goal very much made in Japan with Kyogo, Hatate, and Maeda all involved in the build-up. And it was it was an excellent finish from Daiza Maeda. The ball through to him, he done really well to keep himself onside, because obviously his first instinct is to run on, and he was probably about half a yard onside. So it was really, really marginal. He'd done really well there. He took an excellent first touch because the ball was slightly behind him, so he kind of had to drag it back in front of him. And how many times have we said Daiza Maeda takes a good first touch? So 10 out of 10 for him for that, and he's tucked it away with aplomb. So really good piece of play by the 3 of them, and just 3, certainly 2 out of those 3 guys were linked with exits from the club in the summer. So thank goodness that they're still there. I think they're all relishing their chance to show their talents in the Champions League. Maybe in Hatate and Kyogo's case, to get one up on the Japanese manager who continues to overlook them for the national team. But if they keep on playing in the Champions League like that, then even he won't be able to ignore that sort of form. But yeah, really, really good goal.
Can I just pick an issue? The best goal was clearly the 5th goal. Like, I appreciate there's a good story around that one, but I think that through ball for Jamesy in the 5th, and then Ida just first time putting it in. And he was the first Irish international to score in the Champions League since Scales 60 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Just picking up on your stat there, Brian.
Brilliant. Did anyone? Sorry, I'm going off on one. Me. Did anyone have listened to the Neil Lennon commentary on TNT?
Heard some of it.
It was very insightful in terms of he was commentating on the game, but you could tell he was trying, things like when he was managing it, he was even saying, Vladimir Weiss, he should have scored that goal, and it was great hearing commentary from an ex-Celtic manager. It was fantastic.
But Brian, did you not wish that the Lennon that was in commentary giving all this advice could have been around to give Lennon, the manager, that advice? Because he seemed to be here like, yeah, this makes sense. It would have been great if this had been done like against Copenhagen and stuff. So
I know it was funny when he started talking about Big Dolph, Big Mialby. I just loved all that stuff when I'm being a bit revisionist, but interesting. We are Neil Lennon, yep.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ian. That you can argue the toss about the 4th or 5th goals. They're both class. Obviously, the 5th goal is another one where Cal McGregor wins the ball back. He's chasing back, wins it, shuffles it to. I think he sticks his butt out, and the player falls over, and then he just passes it back to Liam Scales, and then Scales plays a look. You could argue it was that pass looked a bit short, but there was no one there, and Jamesy Forrest is sharp enough to see it coming and come and meet it, and then the weight on that pass from Forrest is just a thing of beauty, really. He does timed his run to perfection. He doesn't have to break stride, and then he just passes it past the keeper, and it's just past the studs, and it's in it. And Ida's taken a wee bit of grief from sections of the support, as is often the case. People are pretty quick to get on players back and get impatient, and obviously the big fee we paid sort of adds to that angst. And but anyone could see, obviously, he was a wee bit rusty when he came in. He was really unlucky not to get off the mark the other day. Obviously, Lewis Palmer was a wee bit lazy, and if he'd been a bit sharper and more aware of his surroundings, the rest of the move would have been the same, and the goal would have stood. So it's I think it's kind of great for Adamira that this is the moment that he picks to announce his first goal of the season. So my man for the big goal, and he was a man for the big goals last season. Obviously, his goals probably were the difference, I would say, in completing that league title. He scored some really important goals at key times, and then obviously the cup final as well, and that's his first goal since then. And you imagine there'll be plenty more this season. Whilst we're just finishing up on the game, we've spent a lot of time on the game. Is there any other performances anyone wants to highlight over and above the ones we've talked about already?
The only thing I would maybe say, a couple of maybe minor complaints was the two bookings we picked up, one for Cameron Carter-Vickers and one for Alistair Johnson, both really crucial players for us moving forward. I noticed both of them ended up getting substituted, and that was clearly to protect them from a second yellow with the Dortmund game coming up in mind. And we can't afford to do without any of those two players. They're two mainstays of the team, and I thought it was particularly the Cameron Carter-Vickers one. He just got done. He just got sucked in by the defender, got too tight. He got rolled by the striker, and just pulled him back deliberately. And I think at that time of the game we were fairly cruising. So I think it was a bit of a daft booking to pick up, and one that will probably come back to bite us at some point in the tournament. Got a lot of games coming up, and the chances of them not picking up another booking are probably fairly slim. So they will miss a game at some point. I just hope it's not one that we come to regret. So that would be my only gripe about the game. But other than that, everything was okay.
Yeah, I think as well, to pick up on the cards, we have some luck in Europe getting some of these referees. Because I don't know if we're just like in a pool to get like the worst referee. Because from the very first free kick, they were just falling over. Thank goodness, I noticed AJ picked that up relatively quickly. I don't know and AJ just started to fall over and try and get the free kicks. And I think the referee was kind of poor throughout. But I guess if we're expanding the number of teams, we're probably expanding the number of referees. And I wouldn't be surprised to see there's going to be a couple of games where people are complaining about the referees. I don't think he was the worst in the world. I just thought he's one of those classic ones that we get in Europe, that he just seems to just give mad decisions. And you could judge his ones in the first 10 minutes against the ones in the last 10 minutes, and they were just way off, completely inconsistent. And I think that's where we have the worst thing, because Vice could have been off, right? And then AJ never gets a yellow card. So
his hair was terrible. He was like something out of a 30s gangster movie. What the hell?
Dracula.
He was Ray Reardon, Count Dracula. That was not a hair out of place too. That's the reason why I don't fear baldness when you see haircuts like that.
I think the other thing, you're right, Ian. You're right. There was that thing about him where he was, any contact, and he was looking for it. There was, I think, in the first half, when there was I think maybe it was that early chance that was blocked. It flicked up, deflected off one player and into Scales' sort of arm, and obviously it was a completely natural position. Right. But how many times have we seen VAR get involved in the Champions League or in the Europa League?
We were lucky there, because apparently the rule is that if it goes and deflects off a leg and up, then I think that's when it takes off, because you can't adjust if it's taking a deflection off another body part. So if it comes off your leg or someone else's leg, it's kind of, you can't adjust it. So if it hadn't taken that deflection, but that's 2 in a row for Scales, because he had one at the weekend, didn't he? So, so well done. He's carrying the luck of the Irish.
Yeah. Here we go. We're going down that line. So look, we've spent a long time on the game. There's over nearly 600 of you online live watching at the minute, which is fantastic.
Guys, has Kasper Schmeichel broken into Greg's? I can't talk, but he looks as if he's carrying a bit of timber, God love him. Or is it just maybe my glasses?
I think it might be the kit. I think it might be the kit, Brian.
The yellow.
You just stopped me mid. I was just about to do a little bit of engagement with the viewership. So yeah, nearly 600 of you on live. I'm sure all of you aren't subscribed. So I would love it if you subscribe. We're a new channel. It's only our second full season. I'm sure a lot of you are here thanks to Ian. So thank you to Ian for sharing the feed as always. Give us a like. It's how we grow the channel. It's how we get in front of more Celtic fans, and obviously we're doing something a little bit unique. Yeah, tonight it's mostly the game, but we do celebrate the fact that fans are all over the world. We get a little bit going on with CSCs around the world. So if that's something you're interested in, keep in touch and jump in and see it. But thanks for being with us. We're going to touch on just where we think that leaves us. We're obviously probably all a little bit giddy. We're not going to get too carried away. Steve, where do you think this leaves us for the rest of the campaign?
Well, the group table looks very, very attractive to me the way it is just now. So as Brendan says after the game, let's just call it quits there. Now I think all we can do is win the games that are in front of us, and that was one. Yeah, we were expected to win, but it's also one, as we mentioned before, that we've lost that type of game in the past, or we've dropped points in that type of game in the past. And I know Bratislava didn't look great, but I watched a few YouTube packages to prepare for Monday's ill-fated show, but it was they're not a bad team. They have got a bit about them, and they did put Midfield out in the Championship preliminary qualifier there, and that's a team we've had problems with in the past. So I don't think we can get all sniffy and say about their rubbish. Let's wait and see how we go on against good teams, because they're a Champions League team and we beat them. And I think people are saying that 8 or 9 points should be enough to get you into the next stage of the tournament. Well, for us to be sitting there having achieved 30% of that total already after one game, that's a great position to be in. And I think it was yourself, Paul, mentioned in the group chat today that the next 3 games are basically a gimme, and anything we get out of there is a positive. Even if we were to lose the next 3 games, we'd still be in with a shout with 2 home games to come, and a sort of decent enough away game. So given the way some of the other teams that we're going to be playing performed last night, that a couple of them were on the end of some pretty bad hidings, if we can pick up 1 or maybe even 2 points out the next 3 games, then we're in a really good place, and you'd make us really favourites to get into the next stage.
Absolutely. I think there's a reasonable percentage of chance 8 will get you through to the last 24, put you in the playoff. 9, really good chance, but I think 10 is almost certainly guaranteeing it. So you're looking at 3 wins and a draw as a bare minimum. And yeah, you're right, Steve. The next 3 games: Dortmund away, Atalanta away, Leipzig at home. That's a terrible run of fixtures. I guess the positive is there's plenty of other points to play for. If we come away with nothing from 9, it's not the end of the world. If we play like we did, we'll play better teams than Bratislava. But we didn't just win that match. We absolutely thumped them. We dominated the game from start to finish. Really, if you're picky, we should have scored more, and we should have not been sloppy enough to give away a cheap goal. Now, it's a great finish, but there's 3 bits of poor defending in the mix of that. Carter Vickers sclaffs it over and gives him the ball back cheaply. His header's not great, and then Taylor's clearance is a bit of a joke as well. So you could, if you're extra picky and extra greedy, you would say we should have won 7 or 8-0, and we maybe be tied with Bayern on the top of the table. But there's none of that team and manager and fan base that should have any qualms about going and playing any of these teams. I think we could easily get a doing from some of these teams, but also we could just as easily be competitive and take points off them. So I agree with you. I think we're well placed. And if we took nothing out of the next 3 games, I don't think it's panic stations. I think we've got it. We've got enough about us to push through. But obviously, let's go and take as many points as we can and see where it ends up. Ian, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Brian said it earlier in terms of there's teams aren't going to fancy playing us. Like, do you know what I mean? Dortmund aren't going to look at that game last night and go, we're glad we've got Celtic. I think we've got a very defined style of play now. Everyone knows their roles. And as Roger said, because you've got to bear in mind back to pre-season, we were beating like EPL teams. beating like Man City and stuff and Chelsea. I know it's friendlies, but the groundwork has been done there for these games. So yeah, I don't really too overconfident off the back of one result. I go back to the fact that, and someone said it in the chat, we have lost to worse opposition than this before. We've won, and the expectation has met the reality this time round. And I think we've got a good opportunity to maybe do something, because I think we're organised and prepared, and we've got the quality. I mean, that's the thing as well, is like, people have said we're not that much changed from last year, which is, kind of true. But within the consistency, there's a bit of strength as well. So I would back I know we're saying like Leipzig at home. I think that's winnable. I really do. I know they're a good team, but I think it's winnable. Like Dortmund is going to be tough. It's going to be tough for anyone. It's tough in their own league and stuff like that. But it's not impossible. So at least I think we'll be going in knowing that, yes, probably we're not favourites and we can get beaten. But I think if we were going to Dortmund last season, we were like, oh, we're going to get hiding. I think this time round, we're like, let's see how we get on. If we can keep it tight for the first 20 minutes. And I think that'll be probably the same as we go through the season.
Absolutely. Brian, give you the last word on how you think the rest of the campaign is going to shape up.
Well, there's 21 points to play for. 7 remaining games. Dortmund a couple of years ago, the other side, the guys from the other side of the city beat them over 2 legs with Haaland. Or not, I think he might have been injured, but for one of the games. There's no reason why we can't go over there and get a 0-0 or a 1 each. Atalanta, again, we went to Lazio. We got a result. If I'm just saying, I think we'll get out of the group. I think we'll get to the next stage. And it's fantastic when you're looking at it's like every other game means something. I was watching, it was sort of City 0, Inter Milan 0, and I'm going, happy days. City dropped 2 points. If the stars align, I mean, Greece won the bloody Euros. I'm not saying we're going to win it.
It still has to get to knockout eventually, though.
One game at a time. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. One game at a time. There's nobody in Dortmund I fear. Who's Dortmund's stars?
I watched that game last night. The sort of extended highlights, and they were pretty good against Brugge in Belgium. So I think that they are a good team, and they've got quite a few good individual players. But 100% agree with you, Brian. There's no reason if we go over there with the same intensity and press with the same intensity what we did. And have that bit of organisation. And yeah, we probably have to carry a bit of luck, maybe at the back. And maybe Kasper Schmeichel has one of those days, a Fraser Foster type game. Yeah. And you never know, and that's the mindset. That's what we have to go over there and believe. There's no teams in our section that we should be scared of. Yeah. And we should be going into every game with a positive mindset. And I fully believe we will. I think Brendan will have them up for that, and he'll have them well organised properly. I mean, you can't legislate for individual brilliance from teams like Dortmund, and they have got some good players, and you can't legislate for individual mistakes if that what happens. But I think in terms of organisation, in terms of application, I think we'll be there and more. And who knows?
Brendan actually said this is the best prepared he has been for Champions League, and that's with Liverpool and Leicester and us the first time round. So that confidence is obviously coming through to the players, and the players are feeling great.
He's gone full box office, Brendan, hasn't he?
It's brilliant.
he's gone into hyperspace.
This is his. He's the king of the castle. This is him. He's come in. I don't know if you watched the documentary Inside the Huddle. But this is him. This is box office Brendan. He's got what he wants. He's proved it. It's not 2 fingers up to the board, but he's just, look what I bought for £11 million. A steal, an absolute steal, and I would wrap the likes of CCV, Hatate, Engels in cotton wool for the next couple of weeks and get them, give us the best chance we have of getting through and winning games in this level.
By the way, at the risk of repeating a joke, I said if Engels keeps on scoring penalties at the rate he's going, he's destined to end up in that Rangers Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I saw that one today. That was good. That had me snorting a mug of tea all over my desk at work.
Right, guys. Well, look, I think it's, we've covered that really well. I think we've now got levels of confidence where, you know, we can go anywhere and hopefully be competitive. Let's be honest, the draw's been kind to us. We've picked, you know, the two bottom teams out of pot one. Well, I think technically Barcelona were down there, but I think they were in a false position. So I think we have picked the two sort of weakest teams out of pot one. So we've given ourselves a chance, and let's hope we can continue to play at the level we did last night and then push on from there. We're going to touch really quickly on Falkirk. Big game on Sunday. Based on Brian's comments, it sounds like he would make wholesale changes. Ian, is that your view as well?
I mean, yeah, but we know Rodgers isn't going to, so let's dispel that. I mean, I think we'll maybe see 3, maybe max 4 changes. I would expect Ida to come in to get a bit of a game. I'd expect Bernardo to come in to get a bit of a game. Yeah, and then maybe there'll be some others. We might see like Valley or however I mean, sure, Gav's like having a heart palpitations watching because there's some sort of Spanish pronunciation of it.
Well, but I think he's just about there. He's just about there.
Yeah, so I expect about maybe 3 or 4 because I think that's what Rodgers likes to do. And again, it's another one that holds no fear. It's always a cup tie, so there's always a risk. But again, the big difference is we know they're all laser focused. They all know their roles. They're all confident. He has them prepared. So I'm kind of feeling like, you know, we would need to have a real off day or some real bad luck to not go through to the next round.
Agreed, Steve. Are you in agreement with Ian on those that amount of changes and who it's likely to be?
Yeah, I think the team that starts a game won't be that different to the one that started the game last night. The team that finishes the game, I think, will be very different. The composition of the bench, I think, will be the most interesting thing. I would stick with Engels in the middle of the park, though. He's only had 2 starts, and I think the more he plays, the better he's going to get. I think, I don't know if it's just Greg Taylor, just the way he carries himself. He always looks knackered at the end of the game. And he was blown a bit towards the end of the game. So I think maybe you will see Vi, all apologies to Gav for that poor pronunciation again. But I think you'll see Vi come into the team. I think you'll see Bernardo starting, and I do think you'll see Adamida up front for this game. I think he'll get a rest. I think that'll probably be it, though. I think everybody else will be as you were. You probably see a raft of substitutions if we're well ahead in the game, which we all hope we will be. The team that finishes the game will look very different.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Brian, thoughts?
No, I totally agree with the lineup Steve said, and I was looking as well about Palma. I don't think Palma will get a game again for Celtic. I think he's gone. I was looking at the body language and all the rest of it, and no, I think if you're in that Celtic squad and there's an opportunity for you to play 15 minutes in a League Cup game, you want to make damn sure that you play well. And I'm telling you, your man Valle or whatever he's called, the left back, he could come in. He's 6'1", I think. He could come in and play the game of his career, and it could give us a bit of a problem with Taylor, which is a good problem to have. So, although I like Taylor, I just like him, and maybe that's the documentary thing coming out, but I think he's a real nice guy about the place. And Rodgers has said repeatedly, Greg's a great guy. Would love to have him signed up and all the rest of it. I think he's vital to the team. But I think any player that gets an opportunity, whether it be 5 minutes or 15 minutes, they have to be 10 out of 10, or they will not get a chance again. And that's how good it is at the minute with our squad. So long may it continue.
Is anyone predicting? So Falkirk are on a good run, top of the league, 5 wins from 5. They knocked out Hearts. Obviously, they've not been great. Is there any chance we make a few changes and we get complacent after a big win and there's a potential banana skin?
No.
Ian's shaking his head vigorously.
it was always a potential, but honest, again, but I just don't think the way that the team are playing at the moment, and the way Brendan's got them set up, and he'll use this game as motivation for guys coming into the team, and he'll be looking for the same energy levels that you saw against Bratislava last night, whether it's Falkirk or anyone else. So I don't see the levels dropping, and I just don't think Brendan would tolerate a drop off in performance that would be required to give Falkirk a sniff.
The biggest risk for me is there'll be no VAR. I think VAR this season, and particularly towards the end of last season, was a very good leveller. It did pick up a lot of things, and it benefited us because they were correct decisions, and it's benefited at the beginning of this season because it's correct decisions. I think causes no VAR. I haven't looked at who the referee is, but it'll be interesting to see who that'll be. So I hope we're not talking about the referee, but I would say that to me is the one that I think is the biggest risk, and I would not be surprised to see something that VAR would rule out get given. But let's see.
It's a valid point, Ian. Yeah, am I assuming that VAR's only coming into the tournament late on, like semi-finals onwards, or?
I thought it was only the Hampden games,
right?
Because the problem is, depending on who gets through, you can't set up the infrastructure at the stadiums. So to make it a level playing field, it's only when it gets to Hampden, because then Hampden has got the infrastructure to have VAR or whatever. That's what I believe. That may have changed, but I don't know.
Is that different from last season? Because I'm sure there was some controversy around because games played at sort of Celtic and Rangers.
I think that was it. I think it was in the first round. Some had it, some didn't, and then they said we just won't have it there. By again, I don't. You get mixed up between tournaments and all that sort of thing, but I don't believe there is VAR. I mean, hopefully there is, and then it's problem solved.
Fair enough. Am I right in saying it's a 3 o'clock kickoff on Sunday? Is that the kickoff time? Am I right with that?
Yeah, because it's midnight Saturday night here. Another lovely one.
Saturday or Sunday? Is it Saturday or Sunday, Steve?
I think it's Saturday night, Sunday morning. I think.
Yeah, it's Sunday for us. Sunday 3 o'clock. Yeah.
So
it'll be Sunday night. It'll be Sunday night then for us.
So Steve's got a midnight Sunday ahead of one Monday work, and I've got 10 p.m. So yeah, that'll be fun. But we'll be there, I'm sure. Couple of little Celtic connections to look out for. Obviously, John McGlynn is a Falkirk manager. Obviously, been involved with us, I think, in the scouting staff in the past, and 2 ex-Celtic players in the Falkirk squad, Aidan Nesbitt and Calvin Miller, have both found themselves at Falkirk these days. So a little bit of a Celtic connection in their ranks. Let's do a quick prediction, and then we'll say good night to these, or good afternoon, wherever you are, to these 600 and odd viewers that have kindly tuned in to listen to this for tonight. Steve, prediction, Falkirk.
Just before I give a prediction, I'll shout out to the Homeboys podcast. I don't know if anybody listens to the Homeboys, but they do a series of one-on-ones before these types of games, so they have a fan of the other team on it, and there is a one-on-one available with a Falkirk podcaster at the moment. So if you're interested in finding a little bit more about Falkirk, then these podcasts are worth a listen to. I reckon probably 3 or 4-0. I'll go 4-0. 4-0 to Celtic.
Another clean sheet. Brian.
4-0.
Ian.
4-0. I thought, yeah, that's what I thought as well. 4-0.
I'm going to go 5. 5-0. 5-0. We'll go back-to-back 5s. Let's hope it is. Let's hope we're not considered a bit cocksure. But on the back of that performance and how we've started, I agree with you guys. I think can't really see it past us turning up and playing in the same way and being too strong for Falkirk, however good the start to their season has been. Look, lads, thank you very much for joining me tonight. The boss is back next week, so Steve and I will be relieved of the extra stresses and back to just talking shit like the rest of us. Well over 600 of you on the episode right now. Really appreciate you coming on. Like I said earlier, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. If you think this was worthwhile, which hopefully you do, given you're still here. Enjoy the aftermath of last night's result. It will live long in the memory. Hopefully it's a starter for many more. All that remains for me to say is thanks for joining us, and hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
Cheers, guys.